So, welcome to Colin and his panel.
It all end in tears.
Good. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to NextGen Live. And thank you for joining us, everyone in the room, but also everyone around the globe joining us online. This is our final session in Vienna before lunch, so I'm really looking for some active participation, both from you guys in the room and also from everyone online. If you want to ask questions today, we will have a roving microphone in the room. If you're a little bit shy, you can also ask questions via Twitter. And for everyone online, you can also ask us questions on Twitter as well, using the hashtag ICSE NextGen. We'd like to thank our sponsors sponsoring the NextGen session today: ECE Project Management, Foundation Recruitment, and the European Shopping Centre Trust. We've also got 20 young leaders from the retail real estate industry joining us live from the Netherlands, and also colleagues from the Czech Republic. So could we all just give them a wave from the room and welcome them to the conference? Thank you. Today's session is entitled Tech for Tech's Sake. And we have two superb speakers who are going to debate and enthuse how best to use technology to give customers what they want. What we're going to cover in this session is how technology can be used to deliver what customers want, the pitfalls of using technology for technology's sake, what marketing technology is out there, and what innovation means and how best to harness it. Our first speaker today is Rose Lewis, co-founder of Collider, a startup accelerator based in London and Amsterdam, who invests time, money, and expertise in marketing and advertising startups, helping them connect with large organizations. With a portfolio of startup companies with a valuation of around £60 million today, Rose really knows how important it is to give customers what they want, and how to be successful, and how big customers can achieve the best from working with nimble startups. Our second speaker, who will follow, is Georg. Georg is a passionate foodie and general manager of Uber Eats in Austria. Uber Eats is without a doubt one of the most successful models of current-day businesses deploying technology to give customers what they want. Georg was instrumental in launching Uber Eats in Austria, which was the first German-language rollout. They maintain a strong customer-focused approach using their own data and market intelligence. So today, Georg is going to be presenting the Uber Eats concept and the relationship with consumer behavior. Over to you, Rose.
So over the last 4 years, I've been lucky enough to work with many large organizations, helping them understand what it's going to take to work with nimble tech startups. These organizations come to Collider because of the sort of the wealth of experience we've got, but also the number of startups that we invest in. We've got around 40 startups, all in marketing and advertising technologies, and all helping those large organizations connect with their customers in new and interesting ways. So why do they want to do that? I think, there's been lots of chat this morning about innovation and digitization, but, we know, and that the fastest growing and most impactful organizations in the world today are actually using completely different business models. Again, Airbnb famously disrupting the world of hotels, not owning any hotel real estate. Uber, which we'll hear from later, delivering people and food, but actually employing no drivers. And then Tesla, disrupting the world of automation, automotive even, and it's run by a software engineer, and actually they're about selling batteries. And of course, Snapchat, that came onto the scene relatively recently, are now pushing out more video than Facebook, and they've done this in a very, very short amount of time, recognizing that actually photos, images, video are actually forms of communication for those infamous millennials that Bob talked about earlier. And then, of course, there's Amazon. And actually, I read somewhere today or earlier this week, that Amazon is set to become the world's most valuable organization this year, even bigger than Google, which I can't quite believe. But actually, Amazon, as a 15, 20-year-old company now, still put themselves as a startup and still focus very much on innovation. All of these companies are doing extraordinary things, but they're certainly putting their customer first. And actually, they're using technology to engage with that customer in new and exciting ways. Data, obviously, a big word. Lots of people talk about data, but what these companies are really doing is really understanding how to use that data to better understand and engage with their customers. They believe in personalization, and actually, hopefully, they'll be doing personalization in a way that isn't what P&G are doing in terms of narrowing, but actually focusing again what the customer wants and needs in his journey. They're also using social, perhaps video and content, to drive unbelievable ROI. Again, this also conflicts with some of the stuff that Bob has said earlier, and actually it's interesting to see the different views, but certainly social has played a big role in driving some of the growth that's been seen with these organizations. And perhaps as well, they're seeing that the mobile has changed the world, and actually what you're seeing is that customers are mobile first, and it's not just about being on that screen, it's the always on that's changing the way consumers want to interact with their customers. They expect something real time, they expect it always to be on. And then there's AI. Just as we thought we grappled with mobile, then AI comes along, and certainly we're beginning to see that actually organizations that are applying to Collider are putting AI right at the center of what they're doing in terms of developing that technology. So all of our assumptions are being challenged. These companies recognize that actually to engage with customers, you need to do it perhaps in a different way. And we also know that change is constant. It's incredibly fast moving, and the consumer is certainly changing. You've got the way they interact with their brands. They eventually will have social commerce and mobile commerce. And again, I think we'll see that rapidly growing over the next coming years. We've talked today about the indifference to advertising, which actually really does mean that actually if you're going to engage and sell to your customers, you need to perhaps do it in different ways to what you have been doing in the past. And Mario also talked about this. It is unbelievable, actually, where the growth is coming from. And actually, what we're seeing is that market share is being captured by these new organizations rather than the legacy incumbent organizations that have existed for so many years. And a lot of that is being driven by the fact that actually all organizations now have this incredible toolkit that actually just wasn't available perhaps even a few years ago. And that toolkit is available to us all in terms of helping understand and engage with that customer in a new and different way. So what do we all do? How do we respond to that environment? And I think it's interesting, Bob, I'm going to pick up on this company because I genuinely believe that the Dollar Shave Club was built online and in a digital environment. Is it a household name? You could debate. But certainly this year or last year, Unilever bought it for $1 billion. And if you haven't seen the video or you haven't heard of Dollar Shave Club, go and look at the viral video that they established when they first launched. It's a very, very funny video. It was filmed with the CEO being starred in it, and that helped them capture something like 8% of market share in the shaving industry in less than 3 years, which is probably why Unilever bought them. And so their relationship with their customer was very, very different to how most big, large organizations in the CPG market are actually operating. They had that direct relationship with the customer, and that's allowed them to have extraordinary growth. We're also seeing lots of organizations interact with startups, believing that startups are the future. And here's just a few examples of organizations who have set up labs or accelerators in the drive to work with these nimble startups. And that's really about trying to put the innovation right at the heart of that customer focus. But we know it's hard. And actually, what was insightful about this morning was just really understanding the types of pressures that you as shopping centres are also under. You know, what we have in large organisations is efficiency and this driving cost reduction, which is actually really, really hard to make innovation work. And actually, you've got a whole different set of challenges as well if you're, in terms of the key stakeholders you're in. And what we see when organizations try and tackle innovation, and it's, you see the same sort of challenges come up. They think accelerators are the way to go. They think about working with startups. They think that the head of innovation is going to be the future. But actually, what tends to happen is it just becomes a bit of a jumbled mess. And the title of this talk, in terms of tech for tech's sake, quite often technology is implemented when they haven't really thought it through. As I said, the innovation director is the one that's doing innovation, so no one ever looks at innovation actually on the front floor, and that becomes a challenge. And ultimately, what we need is this continuous innovation and disruption that's really required to drive new growth. So what does it really take? All of the organizations we speak to, and probably you guys, all of you probably need to become more agile, moving quicker, again, as Mario said. Everyone wants to become like a startup, and they employ techniques such as the lean startup to try and iterate quickly. Another bicycle, not quite falling off, but this idea of trying to accept failure, which is hard in a large organization, particularly when you've got your boss wanting you to drive better ROI or better cost. They may not wish you to want to try new things. And this idea of trying to bring startup culture into corporate life, again, why so many brands want to work with startups, either through Collider or through the accelerators that have been set up in the industry. It's really key to try and figure out how best to work with these organizations to get the value that actually they can really bring. So, as we said earlier, Collider is about helping brands leverage the power of those emerging startups. And we work with the top brands and help them interact with those startups and actually help them get the value. We've learned a lot. It's not always plain sailing, as I said. So here, just to sort of finish off with some of those things that we've learned when we've gone away. It's quite hard when you take a small organization and put them with a big organization. As we said, you're under a very, very different set of pressures than a nimble startup. A nimble startup is curious, it's innovative, it doesn't have any regulations or processes. It's probably going to run out of money in 6 months' time, so it has a very, very different approach to a large organization. But a large organization, actually, you shouldn't beat yourselves up. You have scale, you have profits, you have a balance sheet that you can invest on. And actually, when you put those two things together, actually, that's when the magic can happen, because there really, really is a win-win here. But it does take practice. So again, what we see is people start to work with startups, they don't quite get the result, so they give up too early. It really is about persistence and regular interaction with startups. Again, someone asked, I think it was Mario, about what you can do if you're not very, very, very senior. And actually just doing little trials with startups and knowing what potential outcomes they can bring will actually really, really benefit you and actually help sell to your organization that actually innovation is king. It doesn't stop with a pitch. It often starts with a pitch, and you've heard pitches today, but actually I urge you all to go and talk to those startups, because actually helping them understand what problems you have and how their technology can help you solve them is absolutely key. And this interaction is actually, again, where the magic happens, because if you understand how their technology can help you, you're much more likely to be able to deploy it. You're definitely going to need to experiment. And some of it isn't always going to go well. But again, if you think about it, take a small portion, take a small nugget of a problem that you want to solve and go at it with that, rather than trying to solve every single problem. So definitely think big at the beginning, but actually start small, start local, start with one shopping centre, start with one bit of the shopping centre and prove that it works in that, and then go from there. So many of you are perhaps beginning to think about working with startups. And again, what I wanted to leave you with is just some of the sort of best practice we've seen from the large organizations that we've worked with that are doing this well. It's certainly good to have a framework across your organization from interacting with those startups to allow all of the organization to understand the best way of interacting with those organizations. Obviously, senior buy-in is key, and I appreciate you have many stakeholders, but actually when the key senior people get this stuff, then it trickles down. It actually creates the environment where you can innovate and trial and perhaps experiment and not always work. So that's really been where we've seen the most important thing work. Obviously, having a budget, people like Unilever and Nestle, they have these pockets of trial budgets that, again, helps you guys actually have that budget to trial things, and that works really well. And then, obviously, time is important, and setting out some sort of time to allow you, a bit like the Google 20%er, it really allows you to actually go out and see what's available, understand that actually where those technology can really help solve your challenges. So that's all from me for the moment. I'm going to pass over to our friends at Uber. And yes, thank you, Vienna.
Thank you, Rose. Just a reminder for the people watching online, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please come onto Twitter and tweet your questions using the hashtag ICSC NextGen. We've got one question, I think, here. So a question from Mark Barnett at Cushman & Wakefield. Clients are struggling to keep pace with the fast nature of tech startups. How do they know which new concepts to adopt, Rose?
It's not easy. And again, I think the best thing here is to really understand what problems you want to solve and try and prioritize some of those problems, because it's very, very easy to go out and trial lots of stuff. I've just advocated doing some of that. But actually where most people get it wrong is when they're you've got to be really clear on what challenges you want that tech to solve, rather than going for it as a gimmick or because your mate's doing it. VR, AR, AI, all of these buzzwords, you go, oh my God, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And actually, I think that's really where some of the things that Bob was talking about earlier on is you get sort of over-teched and over-hyped with some of this stuff, and you've got this massive fear of missing out, so you feel you should have to do something, so you do it without really thinking through what challenge and what problem you want to solve.
Great. Thank you. We'll now pass the stage over to Georg from Uber Eats.
All right. My name is Georg. I'm the general manager of Uber Eats in Austria, and we're actually Uber Eats is a brand new business. But before I start speaking, I would like to ask you a question. Who of you actually has used already Uber? All right. And who of you knew, or who of you know, that Uber is not only delivering people these days, but actually has become also a much broader delivery company, notably food and Uber Eats? All right, perfect. So what I would like to talk about is tech for tech's sake, or actually how I would like to frame it, no tech for tech's sake, because that's what we're aiming for, obviously. Uber is, in comparison to many other Fortune 500 companies, even if they're now on average 15 years old, a relatively new company. We're 6.5 years on the market, and it's actually quite incredible how difficult it is to imagine nowadays to get around in a city without Uber. And that has happened really within only a few years. The question is, we're such a growth-fueled organization. What's next? We've expanded to more than 600 cities all across the globe, and in fact, we have doubled our staff every single year in the past 3 years. But what's next? Because Uber has mastered transportation. We have become perfectionists in bringing or providing people with rides from one place to another in the shortest amount of time possible, in the cheapest amount possible. So from a technology perspective, the question would be, if we can provide a ride within 5 minutes after pressing a button, what else can we deliver in that speed? And that's really from a technology perspective. And this, if we think about the title of this session, would be a pure tech approach. So we're thinking of what can our technology do and how can we apply it to other markets? How can we expand and provide even more just using the same technology? This is really important to think about. What can your technology do? However, if this was the only approach, this product is certainly doomed to fail. In fact, Uber is experimenting a lot with new technologies, and we have research labs all across the world experimenting just with new stuff that our technology can do. But the products that really work are the products where we think about the customer. What is the customer's need, and where can we apply our technology to solve a really crucial problem for customers? And for food, it was actually a pretty obvious step. Because what we are seeing right now is that people want to eat healthier. At the same time, however, they have really limited time. And actually, the amount that people want to spend on food, the time they want to think about what they want to eat, is shortening while their need for healthy food is increasing. And this is really a challenge which most people have so far solved just by compromising. Either they were spending more time on getting healthy food, or they were compromising on just getting not so healthy food. And this compromise is a challenge of the industry which we promised ourselves to solve. Many of you are marketers, but you probably already realize you can't do this with a classic segmentation. You can't identify our target audience just by demographic segmentation. And that's why at Uber, and Uber Eats particularly, we're having a purely behavior-centric segmentation. And this is extremely difficult to focus on, because if you do not have data, you do not know what the behavior of customers are. You can just interpret how does a certain, let's say, a 40-year-old male person who is married with one kid, what needs would he have? So we focus on the customer, we put the customers first, and then second, think about how can we develop a technology that solves these needs. And that's how we identified our mission, that we want to make eating well effortless at any time and absolutely to anyone. We want to become a daily product, not a product that people use once a week or once a month, but we really want to become a daily product. And this is where we started. This was our mission. But actually our vision, our goal on the long run goes much further than that. Because we do not consider ourselves a food delivery company. As a matter of fact, we are neither a transportation company. Uber is not a transportation company. What our vision for Uber Eats is that we want to provide customers exactly what they want at the right time, at the right place. So in fact, we want to become the Spotify of food. There may be 1 million choices of dishes in any given city. We don't know whether today you like specific poke bowl, or whether you want a pho, or whether you want a T-bone steak or a lobster. And every person might have a different preference, not just at a specific place, but also a specific time. So you might have a different preference at Tuesday lunchtime than Tuesday lunchtime with your colleagues in the office than Saturday evening with your spouse. And that's why our objective is to not just provide him a long list of restaurants and dishes in our app, but provide any person a customized experience that he or she gets exactly those recommendations of food that we believe this person likes and would enjoy the most at this specific time. Meaning, the experience of Uber Eats is completely different for every single person. And this is our vision where we want to go. We've already now made many steps in that direction. So if you now already order a dish, you see the recommendation. By the way, people that order that dish, they consider these following other dishes, let's say a certain soup, a certain drink, fits very well to that particular dish. And you will see the app and the product develop much more over time. Because consider Uber Eats is now 15 months old. And we've launched in December in Vienna, which was the 38th city in the world, the first one in the German-speaking environment. And we've launched last week the 91st city, the only food delivery app that is present on all 6 inhabitable continents. And we partner with more than 50,000 restaurants worldwide. And in fact, that's quadrupling the amount of restaurants just 5 months ago. So we're really seeing that we are meeting a need that has been there for a long time, but hasn't been met yet. And in fact, food is always an urgent need for anybody, but having the option, at the push of a button, getting exactly what you want, where you are, and just enjoying good food. So, since you're all representing shopping centers, the big question is, how does this affect me? Where are the opportunities for me as a shopping center? There are actually many opportunities here, and as a matter of fact, we as Uber are partnering now with shopping centers. But I'm giving you 4 examples of clear collaborations which we see and which are actually happening already right now. Number 1, for shopping centers, one of the main goals, we heard it actually in one of the previous speeches, that one of the main levers to get the most out of customers is to extend their stay within the mall. What happens? A person comes Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning, and then the person gets hungry. So there are 2 options. Either he or she eats in the food court, or he or she leaves the mall to eat somewhere else. And the chance if he or she does the latter is that the person will never return. So either one provides a better experience within the food court that meets every single taste of a customer, which is super important to meet the needs, but and as a matter of fact, it's going to be impossible to meet the need of every customer. So here the opportunity would be actually providing space for customers to eat from delivered food from any restaurant around the shopping mall, within the mall, and then afterwards continuing their stay in the mall, and thus spending more money within the shopping center. Number 2 is actually a business model for in-mall restaurants themselves. What we see in shopping centers, there's certain peak areas where a lot of people shop and the mall is stuffed, and then let's say it's Saturday, or in some other countries, on Sunday. Tuesday morning, Tuesday noon, very often you have much fewer people here. So what do restaurants do? They have just excess capacity. As a matter of fact, some of these restaurants actually would be interesting for all those folks who work in the offices around the malls. So providing these restaurants the opportunity to deliver via Uber Eats to all those people outside enables them to become also more profitable, thus making them happier customers for shopping centers. Number 3, the Uber users are essentially it's anyone, but it's a lot of people who are really mobile. Those people who are more likely to shop on Amazon than going to a shopping mall. So in order to reach them directly, having the option to communicate via a new channel is a great opportunity to also engage them to come directly to a shopping center. Because, of course, Amazon doesn't fulfill every single need. And a shopping center always will have a certain reason why somebody would go there. But being enabled to communicate with these people directly is extremely critical to identify when exactly and which person would be relevant, and to reach those people to get and convince them to the mall. And the fourth one is actually what we see right now is a lot of people don't own cars these days. Many malls are directly in the city center and are easily accessible by public transportation, but many are not. And those people, and to still engage people to come to the shopping centers in the outer skirts, Uber is a great opportunity to just get them there. And this is really not future talking. This is happening right now. And I'm actually giving you an example for the latter, that we're partnering right now with Unibail-Rodamco, the Shopping City Süd in the south of Vienna, that we're having several pickup stations for Uber in the shopping mall at various locations, that it's extremely easy for the shopping center customers to order an Uber exactly to a specific place. They know where they can wait. And it's extremely efficient for the users because first of all, it's cheap, it's fast, they don't need a car. It reduces the burden of having parking lots, and it's essentially a win-win situation for both sides. So these are just 4 out of many ways to collaborate. And I'd be more than happy to connect you to any of my colleagues in your respective country, if you're interested. And if you happen to be a Vienna-based shopping mall, please let me know as well. With having said that, I'm teaching you one word in German, in Austrian German, which is Mahlzeit, which is the Austrian way of saying enjoy your meal, because I know that you'll have lunch soon. And if you happen to stay a little bit longer in Vienna, try out Uber Eats and just check out which restaurants are actually really trending right now in Vienna. Thank you.
Thank you, Georg. Thank you. Now, I noticed that there was more hands in the air when Georg asked who's an Uber user than there was when I asked everyone to wave to the camera. So it's interesting. I'm going to start with some questions from myself, and then I'm going to open it to the audience and anyone online using the hashtag ICSCNextGen. First question. Technology. Has it made it easier or harder for marketeers to give the customer what they want? Let's start with Rose.
Yes.
Easier?
Yes. If you think about going back, the sort of mass TV advertising, you didn't know who your customers were. CPGs have relied heavily on distributors to actually sell their product, whereas technology has allowed them to have a direct relationship with the customer. Granted that there's a plethora of choice, and technology is not always as easy as it looks, but I do think yes is the answer.
Great. You got a view, Georg?
Yes, I mean, it's a clear yes. And as a matter of fact, nowadays, marketing has become a really data-driven position. It's all about data, and it's any decision is not a decision of intuition, but it's a data-driven decision, which is actually why also the position of marketing in most companies has changed, that suddenly marketing is not a fixed cost anymore, which is not, where the impact is not measurable, but actually many marketing departments have clear KPIs on ROI, and as a matter of fact, marketing has become a sales channel for especially digital businesses. So it's a clear yes, it's a lot easier for marketers.
Great, thank you. Another big question, what are the consumer trends being influenced by technology that are impacting the way consumers shop and the way that we market to them? Let's start with Georg.
So could you repeat the question again?
Yep. What are the key consumer trends that we're seeing that are having an influence on the way consumers use technology and the way we market to them?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say the main trend, what we're seeing, and that's really no secret to anyone anymore, is that people are just more mobile. Yeah. And actually there is a lot more data that people share while being mobile and then on the desktop. So in fact, what you know is you don't just know when they use it or when they visit a website, but then usually know where they do it and what they've been doing other than that and for how long they've been doing it. And hence, this trend is becoming just more and more. And as a matter of fact, its desktop is becoming completely irrelevant to a certain extent that it's only being used in the offices. So I would say this is the main trend that we're seeing. And the second one is that convenience is becoming more important. So people, especially in Europe and the United States, but essentially to increasing extent anywhere, people do not want to compromise anymore, do not want to accept that a solution is slow or imperfect or doesn't provide exactly what they want. But they are actually willing to pay a premium or are even more likely to switch to a competitor or just a completely different solution just to enjoy fulfilling their need. And in this case, fulfilling the need does not necessarily mean just using a competitive product, let's say a different shopping center, but rather a completely different product. And in this case, it could mean an online solution, like it could mean an online shop like Amazon. It could, however, also mean something completely different that we are not even thinking of right now.
Great. Rose, any thoughts?
I think I'd probably just agree with what you said. I think mobile, I mean, what was stat I read going back to Amazon is they've got something like 80 million subscribers in the US that are now signed up to Amazon Prime. $7.99 a month it is in the UK, so I don't know what it is in the US. But that is just extraordinary, and that's exactly what they're doing, is paying for convenience. They want that same-day delivery or next-day delivery, and they're not prepared to compromise.
Great. We've got a question online. It's slightly cut off, so I'm going to guess at the end of that. How much does Uber share data both across internally across the business, but also with the restaurant partners?
Yeah. So data privacy is super important for us, and that's why, despite the fact that we gather a lot of data, almost all of it is processed automatically. So internally, we're one business. As a matter of fact, we're one legal entity. So we're essentially sharing all data because we're just one company. And it's also one account. So if you download the app, the Uber Eats app, and you have already an Uber account, it's essentially one button press, like, do you want to sync it with that account? And you press yes, and then you're in. So that's easy. Second question is, how much do we share with the restaurant partners? Is for us, and this is a very important point to understand, for us, if we talk about customers, we actually have three customers. We have the end consumers, of course, but we have also the restaurants, and we have the couriers. Those guys and women who bring you the food on a bicycle, on a car, or on a motor scooter. So which data, and of course we also really address the needs of each of these customers, and one of the needs for restaurants is also understanding the data of their own business. And that's why we've launched, in January, we have launched a new product called the Restaurant Manager, which is an online portal where the restaurant manager has an overview of their entire data. They are very extremely precise and consolidated with exact recommended actions. So it's not an Excel sheet, but it's really with actionable insights where they can improve. And very often the restaurant manager is not the one that is actually processing the orders in the restaurant, so he or she can implement these suggestions then in their business.
Great, thank you. So keep the questions coming in online using hashtag ICSENextGen. Let's take the questions to the audience. Have we got any questions in the room? One at the front here, please.
Hello. I'm so sorry Uber is out of Denmark. So my first question is, how will you come back? And when will you come back? Because this is great. And I have one more for you, and for you both. When you started Uber, I think you was not there, but you have heard about it. Was it a question about needs or solving a problem, or was it like Rose are telling, that we should think about? Or was it more like a passion? We want to do this. Lots of the best startups is about passion, I think. So it's a lot of questions.
I'll try to answer the first question first. I don't know when we'll be back in Denmark, but I hope as fast as possible. However, Uber Eats actually enables us to enter also markets where we're not present in with Uber, because we, as a matter of fact, what I really see with Uber Eats is we are actually revolutionizing the market, the food market, but together with restaurants. So they're benefiting of this revolution together with us. That's why it's a lot easier to launch Uber Eats in many markets. So you'll see more and more markets where Uber Eats is launching before Uber. But about Denmark particularly, let's see. I mean, I'm probably also going to hear it like a day before the news.
And was it passion or was it need that started Uber Eats?
At the end of the day, it's a mixture of both, because people have to be passionate to be really doing something well. At the other side, there has to be a consumer need. So at Uber, people work a lot of various different projects. If an individual believes that idea could make sense, we just spend time on that, and there are no question asked. So it's our passion that drives us here. At the same time, in order to make it really big and roll it out globally, especially so fast as we saw, there has to be a clear customer need. And this customer need is not being identified in labs or not only through online service, but it really has to be inherent in the organization that we are 100% convinced that this is a need. And how we actually identify these needs, or how we test these needs on a daily basis, is that we go ourselves, like literally everyone in the organization goes out, him or herself, to test these needs. So for example, yesterday, I was out on the roads of Vienna with my sports shirts and my thermo bag, delivering food to various places in Vienna, just in order to see how restaurants are working, how the consumers are working, and to really see which are the needs, which are those needs that we could still address. And I think that's just super important, that speaking to the customers or being in a relationship with the customers is not something which is done just by the lowest employees possible, but literally everyone in the organization.
Rose, what do you see in your founders?
So it's a combination of both passion and solving that acute challenge. Most of the people who set up businesses that we often see have experienced that challenge, either because they're working in that environment or they've seen it. But ultimately, if you're going to start a business, it is not easy. It's bloody hard, which is why the vast majority of you are sitting in nice organizations. And so actually, the passion is what drives you to go through the pain of building your startup. And if you haven't got that, you won't last.
Colin, is it okay? So what you tell me is also that it's back to basic, walk around, see people's need, not only data. So it's built on everything.
Well, I would say it's both. I think you first have to identify the need by talking to people and then speak about data. So it's really a combination of both. But what is super important, I think one of the previous speakers was saying about it, is actually, I think Rose said it, that you have to get the buy-in of the CEO and the top management. And it's even better that you don't just get the buy-in, but if the need is seen by the CEO himself. That's why even our own founder is driving once in a while with Uber and driving people or delivering food, because it's just so important to understand where the need is.
We've got a quick question online from Matt Hallett. A quick answer on this one, maybe, Georg. How are you going to compete with other companies such as Deliveroo who benefit from motorbike deliveries in large cities? Well,
I'm pretty sure they have a lot of advantages. Motorbike delivery isn't really a USP for them, I would say. Or if it was their USP, that would be a problem.
Just Eat have got that kind of restaurant management feel about them as well. So
yeah. So I mean, in general, we deliver with whatever I think is fastest in a specific city. In Vienna, in the inner city, it's bicycles. In the outer skirts, it's scooters. In LA, it's a lot of cars, obviously. So we target, we make it different in every single city. But I wouldn't say that that's a real challenge, because especially in London, for example, it's a lot of scooters as well, especially when we get to the outer skirts.
Another question from the room. Oh, great.
I have a question for Uber. A lot of people here are probably afraid changing bricks for clicks. So as Uber is all over, what will be next? Uber delivering online purchases, or?
So right now, I mean, we are experimenting with a lot of things. You may have heard about the self-driving cars and trucks. You may have heard about Uber Elevate, which is flying drones that that will transport people in Dubai and Sao Paulo as soon as 2020. There is Uber Rush, which is piloted in many US American cities right now, where we don't deliver food, but actually items on behalf of large chains. So we partner, for example, with Walgreens and provide them, the consumer, with a not one-day delivery, but instant delivery. Like within 30 minutes, you have the product you order. And so there are a lot of different products. But at the same time, I think what's super important about innovation is that one tries to innovate. One pilots many different products and experiments as long as until one is sure that this product is actually working. And that's why with Uber Eats, we have experimented for quite a while in the US and Canada with different products. And Uber Eats has actually looked quite different at the very beginning. But as soon as we were convinced that this is a product that's scalable, fast, really fast scalable, and his speed is really important, then we roll it out, and then we roll it out extremely fast.
Great. I'm afraid we're running out of time. Rose, any closing remarks?
Get out there, experience what tech has to offer.
Right, thank you. Well, I mean, I had another X amount of questions. We could have spent the whole lunch talking about this. But to summarise, I think what we're saying is that consumers are not compromising anymore, and consumers are becoming very much individuals. We need to really look at what technology is out there and not deploy it for the sake of deploying technology, but deploy it by understanding the consumers, going out, seeing what the consumers are doing, and also understanding the data that highlights the trends. And then really working with a lot of these small, passionate startups that have gone through the pain of actually giving up their day job and really investing time and money into trying to understand what consumers need and bring it to market. I'd like to thank our sponsors again, ECE Project Management, Foundation Recruitment, and the European Shopping Centre Trust. You can continue the debate online using the hashtag ICSENextGen. And thank you for everyone in the room and everyone online today. And let's have a little bit of a better wave to say goodbye. Thank you.
Right, just very quickly from me, we've got to lunch within about 5 minutes of time. Can we all be back here at